Hello students, welcome to today's class. Today we are going to discuss module number 9, which talks about influence of family on social development. The main objectives in this lesson are to understand the role of family in social development of the adolescent, which includes effect of parenting styles on social development, parent-adolescent conflict, influence of family size on social development, and also influence of birth order on social development. Adolescence is a transitional stage of physical and mental development that occurs between childhood and adulthood. It is usually accompanied by an increased independence and less supervision by parents. Adolescents are known as being gangly, awkward, and troublesome youngsters. This period of life is seen as a time of storm and stress. A positive and healthy relationship between parent and their adolescent children is considered as an important influence on the development of self-esteem and on the overall personality growth development of the teenager. Adolescents who are able to talk to their parents about issues that are important to them and get in turn emotional support from the parents are less likely to rely on peers for advice on important issues. Now let us see what should be the relations of adolescents with the family. A relation between a parent and their adolescents is very crucial and also decides upon the self-esteem and on the overall personality growth and development of the teenager. For example, children who report having a positive relationship with their parents tend to have higher self-esteem, have more positive peer relationships, do better in schools, and avoid behaviors such as substance abuse and delinquency. Adolescents who are able to talk to their parents about issues that are important to them are less likely to rely on peers for advice on important issues. They are less likely to succumb to peer pressure, which at times may take form of being pressurized into using alcohol and drugs as means of coping with the pressure experienced by the adolescent person. Hence, adolescents who have and can maintain an open, positive, honest, flexible and emotionally supportive relationship with their parents can withstand pressure from undesirable sources. On the other hand, adolescents who have problematic relationships and poor communication with their parents tend to become more dependent on their peers for advice and also for emotional support. Such behaviors may lead to many undesirable outcomes such as poor performance in school, poor relationships, indulging in alcohol and other drugs, as well as manifesting undesirable aggressive behaviors such as going against the school system, school authorities and also parents. Next, we will discuss the impact of parenting style on social development of the child. Parenting is a complex activity that includes many specific behaviors that work individually and together to influence development of children in the desired direction. Although specific parenting behaviors such as spanking or reading aloud may influence child development, looking at any specific behavior in isolation may not provide the correct picture of child rearing. Parenting style basically captures two important elements of parenting. One, parenting responsiveness, and two, parental demandingness. Parental responsiveness, also referred to as parental warmth or supportiveness, refers to the extent to which parents intentionally foster individuality, self-regulation and self-assertion by being adjustive, supportive and accepting children's special needs and demands. Whereas parental demandingness, also referred to as behavioral control, refers to the demands parents make on children to become integrated into the family, and they do this through supervision, disciplinary efforts and willingness to confront the child who disobeys them. There are different types of parenting styles which have a different impact on the child's social development. First parenting style is indulgent parents, also referred to as permissive or non-directive. These parents are more responsive than they are demanding. They are non-traditional and lenient. They do not require mature behavior. They allow considerable self-regulation and avoid confrontation. Indulgent parents may further be divided into two types. Democratic parents who, though lenient, are more conscientious, engaged and committed to the child, and also there are non-directive parents. The next style is authoritarian parents who are highly demanding and directive but not responsive. They are obedient and status oriented and expect their orders to be obeyed without explanation. These parents provide well-ordered and structured environments with clearly stated rules. The next parenting style is authoritative parenting style. These parents are both demanding and responsive. They monitor and impart clear standards for their children's conduct. They are assertive but not intrusive or restrictive. Their disciplinary methods are supportive rather than disciplinary. Therefore, it can be said that parenting styles are a typology with each style different from other. In addition to differing on responsiveness and demandingness, psychological control refers to control attempts that intrude into the psychological and emotional development of the child through use of parenting practices such as guilt induction, withdrawal of love or shaming. Both authoritarian and authoritative parents place high demands on their children and expect their children to behave appropriately and obey parental rules. Authoritarian parents, however, also expect their children to accept their judgments, values and goals without questioning. In contrast, authoritative parents are more open to give and take with their children and make greater use of explanations. Thus, although authoritative and authoritarian parents are equally high in behavioral control, authoritative parents tend to be low in psychological control, whereas authoritarian parents tend to be high on psychological control. Now, let us understand what is the impact of these parenting styles. Parenting style has found to predict child's well-being in the domains of social competence, academic performance, psychosocial development and also problem behavior. Authoritarian parenting styles generally lead to children who are obedient and talented, but they rank lower in happiness, social competence and self-esteem. Authoritative parenting style tend to result in children who are happy, capable and successful. Children and adolescents whose parents are authoritative rate themselves as more socially and instrumentally competent than those whose parents are non-authoritative. That is, children consider themselves and also considered by others as socially more competent, and also their behavior always leads to desired goals. Permissive parenting often results in children who rank low in happiness and self-regulation. These children are more likely to experience problems with authority and tend to perform poorly in school. Then, talking about uninvolved parenting style. Uninvolved parenting style rank lowest across all parenting styles. Children subjected to this kind of parenting style tend to lack self-control, have low self-esteem and are relatively less competent than their peers. Children and adolescents whose parents are uninvolved perform most poorly in all domains. Children and adolescents from indulgent homes who are high in responsiveness and low in demandingness are more likely to be involved in problem behavior and perform less well in school, but they have higher self-esteem, better social skills and lower levels of depression. The expectation of the significant people in their life like parents and other members of the family tend to encourage this independence by allowing them to exercise the independence which they were not allowed before. At this point, they are allowed, for example, to go out and probably may stay later than before. They are even allowed to bring their friends home since there is an amount of increased social privileges. Both parents and the adolescents express a feeling of uncertainty on the question of independence in this stage. Uncertainty on the part of parent is expressed when they wish their children to be independent and at the same time wishing they are not. As their children grow up, parents are also growing older. In the course of time, the children will all leave and parents are left alone and lonely in the house. Parents express joy and sadness when this reality is manifesting before them. This is the state of uncertainty, signifying parents wanting their children to grow up and at the same time wanting the opposite. On the part of adolescent, uncertainty shows itself when he faces a state of doubt. He wants to become independent and at the same time wants to be dependent because he realizes it is not easy to become an adult, which may involve making his own difficult decisions, unlike before when parents made decisions for him. He faces parental patterns of authority which may give pleasant, harmonious and encouraging experience or may not. If parents are democratic in the exercise of authority in the home, they encourage the adolescent to take part in the decision making in the home and is also allowed some level of freedom. If the parents are permissive ones, they give complete freedom to the adolescent to do what he wants to do, where and when to do it. He is in control of what to wear, where to go and when to come back. There is little or no supervision and control on the part of parents. But if the parents exercise autocratic control over the adolescent, he may revolt against his parents' rigid attitudes towards them. Of these three, the best is democratic pattern, but it is good to use the other two when occasions call for them. It is better to use the democratic pattern, but none can be used to the exclusion of others. The relationship between adolescents and their parents is changed by the adolescent's social development. However, the shift in adolescent's social world from family to peers does not lessen the importance of the family in adolescent's life. The adolescent's new desire for independence leads to increasing conflicts between adolescents and their parents. Minor conflicts and bickering are considered to be normal as teens and their parents adjust to their changing relationships. Family size is a significant factor in the child's social development, but must be considered as the only one part of larger picture. However, other factors such as parents' personality traits, gender and spacing of children also contribute significantly to the formulation of a child's personality. Other factors such as the parents' personality traits, gender and spacing of children also contribute significantly to the formation of child's personality. Children of large families have a greater opportunity to learn cooperation at early age than children of smaller families. They also take on more responsibility both for themselves and often for younger brothers and sisters. In addition, children in large families must cope with emotional crisis of sibling rivalry, from which they may learn important lessons that will aid them later in life. This factor, however, may also be a disadvantage. Dethroned from a privileged position, or the younger child who is in the eldest child's shadow may suffer from feelings of inferiority. Children in large families tend to adopt specific roles in order to attain a measure of uniqueness and thus gain parental attention. They may also be overprotected, however, which can result in dependence, lack of initiative and fear of risk, and the increased parental attention may also take the form of excessive scrutiny and pressure to live up to the other people's expectations. Researchers have found that only children are often loners and have the lowest need for affiliation. They tend to have high IQs and are successful academically. However, only children have also been found to have more psychological problems than children from larger families. Thus, it can be stated that family size also plays an important role in social development of an adolescent. Next, we'll understand how birth order influences the development of the child. Research has found that the more siblings a child has, the more likely it is for the child to be reported as tolerant, cooperative, and to externalize their problems. Furthermore, a child is more tolerant, cooperative, and autonomous when he or she has an older sibling. The result may be explained by the availability of opportunities for later born children to interact with older siblings. It is found that later born children have the opportunity to model older siblings who facilitate social interactions. Later borns may thus possess greater social skills and are more successful in peer interaction than first-born children. It has also been found that behavior problems are more common in first-born male children. Some research studies have indicated that first-born children receive more responsiveness and social attention, including physical and verbal, from their mothers, and that later born have to compete with their older siblings for their mother's attention. Therefore, combining a higher activity level with less parental control may encourage first-born males to display more aggressive behaviors in social interactions. In addition to these explanations as to why birth order differences occur, it is suggested that are more likely to be inexperienced with children and thus set too high an expectation for their children. There is evidence that first and only born children receive greater parental pressure for more mature behavior at earlier ages than do later born children. Therefore, firstborns are more thoroughly socialized than later borns, conforming more closely to parental standards. Thus, in conclusion, it can be said that family and the various aspects of family play a very important role in social development of the adolescents. Now, let us summarize what we have learnt in today's lesson. Adolescent stage acts like a bridge between childhood and adult age. Social development of the child mainly happens through various socialization agents such as family, peers, school, culture, etc. The relationship between a parent and their adolescent is very important as it paves the way for the overall development of the adolescent. Social development of the adolescent depends on the parenting style, family size, and also birth order. Parenting style predicts the child's well-being in domains of social competence, psychosocial development, etc. Authoritative parenting styles tend to result in children who are happy, capable, and successful, whereas authoritarian parenting style leads to moderate success, poorer social skills, and lower self-esteem. Permissive parenting often results in children low on happiness and self-regulation, and finally, uninvolved parenting styles lead to low self-esteem and less competent children. Apart from parenting style, family size and birth order also seem to impact social development of the adolescent. Children of large families have greater opportunity to learn cooperation at an early stage, whereas children in small families receive greater amount of individual attention and tend to be comfortable around adults at a very early age. Similarly, child is more tolerant and competent when he or she has an older sibling, whereas behavioral problems seem to be more common in first-born male children.